And here we go.
Just like one domino falling causes the next domino to fall, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. With a lot of uncertainty in the market right now, there are a lot of market participants starting to see these dominoes just falling. In today's KuCoin DigiDive, we're going to go over Celsius. What's going on with them? What does this mean for the market? And is it insolvent? All right, so let's go and get into the nitty gritty of this. As you can see here, there's a tweet from Celsius saying, we're pausing all withdrawals, swaps, and transfers between accounts. This is kind of unsettling because their state of fame is basically unbank yourself. And in this case, they're actually acting like a bank because they're closing withdrawals. This is a bank run scenario. The reason why it's considered a bank run scenario is they're unable to allow people to withdraw because there's no money in the accounts in order to do that. Later in this video, I'll go over some of the strategies that they're using, or at least one of them that could have produced the insolvency. But the TLDR is they're paying extremely high interest rates, or at least higher interest rates than most of the other competitors. And if you're thinking to yourself, how can they do that if the yields aren't there? There are some that you can make the strategy with, but then there are others where it's not really sustainable. And what some companies can do in order to keep paying this yield is repay old investors with the new investors coming in. But when you have a bank run scenario, when people are withdrawing and taking their money out, there's no money to pay other people. So this is very important to understand what's going on here with Celsius. With Celsius, you can consider them an additional domino. When these dominoes start to fall, other ones can fall as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you guys this example with some dominoes. Let's say, for example, the double threes. This is going to be Luna, and Luna is just considered one of the dominoes. We'll put it here on my table down here. You guys can't see it. Now, let's say the double sixes would be Celsius. So this could just be Celsius just standing up as a company. Then we have the double four. This could be just any other random company. We don't know. It could be a hedge fund or a fund that invests in other companies. Who knows? Let's just call it Three Arrows Capital. Then we have the double one. This could be another company. You can just consider this another crypto protocol. You can consider this another investment fund. You name it. Now, this is how you can imagine the different dominoes. Let's say, for example, Luna, which it went bust, goes bust. That domino then falls. Now, Celsius would be the other domino. So once that domino falls, that means that company went bust. But let's say, for example, Celsius was depending on Luna in order to pay the next company. So let's say Celsius was earning $500,000 a month from Luna. So if Luna goes bust, that $500,000 is now gone. So Celsius, their $500,000 they were earning from Luna is now gone. But Celsius owes this other company $500,000 every single month. But if they no longer have the income coming in from Luna, now Celsius goes bust. If Luna is bust, Celsius bust, and this company that was depending on the $500,000 from Celsius to be able to pay his bills, he goes bust, now then you have this company. Eventually the dominoes are going to stop somewhere, but the question is when do they stop? So then you have something like this, and they all crash. But eventually, you may have a domino that's strong enough or someone else out there that's able to backstop it and buy it up. This happened in the '08 crash with Warren Buffett purchasing some of the banks. The banks were basically the last domino. They go out, who else can buy them up? Warren Buffett put up the cash, backstopped them, and that's how it rolls. So eventually, in this type of situation, there are investors involved that come and buy up the backstop. Nexo was another company that's similar to Celsius. They were mentioning they were looking to purchase up the Celsius team. Now, time will tell. We'll see how that happens and see how it plays out. But I'm going to show you guys some other information on Celsius. So Celsius has not gone bust yet. But I want to show you this tweet from Celsius. They are not a regulated company. If you look in their terms and conditions, it says, in the event that Celsius becomes bankrupt and enters liquidation or is otherwise unable to repay its obligations, any eligible digital assets used in the earned service or as collateral under may not be recoverable. Keep that in mind. Not your keys, not your crypto. Let that sink in. I want to show you guys another tweet. As you can see here, Celsius is trying to push down its loan. it has taken out a loan against Bitcoin and stablecoins in order to pay these other investors. So as you can see here, this is one of the posts that they made for adding collateral to push down their liquidation price. On the Oasis app, this is actually their CDP position on MakerDAO. Their liquidation price is around $15,000. So one other interesting thing to note with this CDP vault is that when this is, or if this is liquidated at this $15,000 price, this is not saying they aren't going to repay their debt or repay the loan. This is just something that you guys need to keep in mind. If this is close to liquidation or is liquidated, some Bitcoin is going to need to be sold. When Bitcoin is sold, that's going to cause the price to go down, which can cause further liquidations. So this is where the domino effect comes into play. If Celsius is having to go bust and sell this, this is going to cause other dominoes to fall, and then who knows what will happen when the other dominoes will fall. Of course, this is about a little over $500,000 worth of Bitcoin, but this is still something important to note. They're putting up more collateral, and obviously they're repaying their loans, as you guys can see here. They're starting to repay some of the loans. Now, we will see if this will help them out. Maybe there's another loan from another place, or they're using users' funds in order to prop up this loan, or maybe they're using users' funds to prop up this loan. Time will tell. We'll see what happens. We really don't have enough information because on Celsius, they just leave a tweet that says this: "We're working as quickly as possible and we'll share information when it becomes appropriate." So there's really not much information out there. So just laying out what we have on the table. Now, as for the Celsius token, it is up today, but overall it has took a massive beating. It literally came down from as high as $8 at one point and came all the way down to around 28 cents. And now, in my opinion, it's having a bit of a relief rally. But the point is this is important to understand because if you have the sell token, at least you can sell some of that and repay some of the users. But if the sell token basically goes to zero, then there's not extra money frothing around in order to repay some of these users. Here's one of the strategies that they used for ETH. This is with the staked ETH position. With the staked ETH position, what they would do is they take Ethereum, they would turn it into ST ETH, and they can deposit this into Aave, borrow more ETH, rinse, and repeat, and basically get a leveraged position on ETH in order to get a higher yield to pay users. However, this can only go one way. Until ETH 2.0 comes out, you cannot take ST ETH back to ETH. This is also one of those things you have to understand when you're getting into these different positions. So overall, what are my thoughts on this? First, Celsius, the domino falling, this is not a good thing. If this domino falls, who knows what the next dominoes will be? Just like when Luna dropped and their domino fell, we didn't know what the ramifications can be. If you guys didn't know, Celsius was actually deposited into the Anchor protocol. They claimed they did pull out and they had to cut some losses, but this is something important to understand. DeFi is risky, and right now the markets are extremely risk off. So if you're holding a derivative, this could be like wrap Bitcoin. Keep in mind, you're now subject to BitGo, which is a centralized company. And if their company goes out of business, well, there's no way you can get your wrap Bitcoin back. The same goes for other stable coins as well. If they go bust, well then how are you able to get your collateral back? These are just things to keep in mind. Same thing with USDT and Tether. This is why you need to be careful, stay safe, and always have diversification. And one other thing to keep in mind. If you're keeping your money on a centralized exchange or with a central party, it's not your keys, not your crypto. So if you had your funds on Celsius, your funds are stuck. But if you had your funds on a ledger or in a non-custodial wallet like a Ledger or a MetaMask, you would not be subject to Celsius closing down. Sure, you may see some negative price action on any of your tokens that you hold, but at least you still hold those tokens. Now, before we end this video, I want to give you one last piece of food for thought. And speaking of a ledger, if you guys would like to go ahead and get one of these ledgers, I got a referral link in the description below. They actually have a special going on this time. It's about time, dude. But it'll give you 20% off of any of your orders on Ledger. Link will be in the description below. It'll be good for the next week. If the Celsius domino falls, as you guys can see here, their liquidation price is around $15,000. If this falls, they're going to have to liquidate a bunch of Bitcoin in order to keep this stabilized. And if they're unable to stabilize it and sell into it, then you're going to have other issues like with DAI. And then if DAI goes off peg, then you have other issues involved with that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's go ahead and hit you guys with a wisdom one-liner. Proverbs chapter 14 verses 11. A house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the upright will flourish. Be good, be righteous, be nice.